Hi everyone. In this video, we're going to read the next chapter of Attack of the Tiger. Chapter 12. Mom and Dad boot up. By the time I got home from school, I felt weaker than a mortal. Forget superheroes. I was like Superman surrounded by kryptonite. What was I going to do? Mom took one look at me and said, "Honey, what's wrong?" I just sat down on the floor, backpack and all. She felt my forehead. "Are you coming down with something?" I shrugged, sighed, and lay down on the floor. "Nolan," she pulled me up. "Honey?" "I'm okay, Mom," I finally said, "just really tired." I was, too. Superman or not, 3 hours of sleep is not enough. She peeled off my shoes and dragged me to bed. "You get some sleep, young man." She felt my forehead again and said, "I'll check on you at dinner time." I must have snorted through a time warp, because I swear she never left. 1 minute she's sitting on the edge of my bed, feeling my forehead, saying, "You get some sleep." And the next minute, she's still on the edge of my bed, feeling my forehead, but now she's saying, "Honey? Honey, time to wake up." The smell of dinner was floating through the air. "Spaghetti?" I asked. "Lasagna." I sat up. "Really?" She laughed and said, "Feeling better?" I swung out of bed. "Lots." "Good. You had me a little worried." "And," she added, "your father's quite anxious to talk to you." Uh-oh. I stopped in my tracks. "About Shredderman," she said. Double O. "Shredderman?" I said as innocently as I could. She shook her head. "Don't ask me. Never heard of the guy before." "Hi, Dad," I said when I sat down next to him at the table. "Nolan, there you are." He scooped a big square of lasagna onto his plate. "Your mom says you were wiped out when you got home from school." "I'm okay now." "Glad to hear it." He put some lasagna on my plate. "So, tell me, what do you know about Shredderman?" I shrugged. "Not much." "Hmm," he served Mom. "Well, I'm getting conflicting reports. Some of the kids at your school told me he was trying to stop the tagger. Other kids say he is the tagger." He frowned. "Dr. Voss seems to think he's an all-around menace. A wolf in sheep's clothing." "How come?" "I don't know," he said. She was in a pretty agitated state of mind when I tried to ask her about it. Complained a lot about some website of his. "A website?" My mouth was dry. My throat felt choked. What if they went to the site and could tell I had built it? What if they... She called it a cry for attention. I almost jumped out of my chair and shouted, "No way! It's a call for truth and justice. It's an awesome site. How can she not like it?" Then I remembered the link to Bubba's big butt. Principals and teachers and parents are funny about butts and underwear and farts and burps and barf and BO and poop. They make being an adult seem really, really boring. "Nolan? Huh? Where were you just then?" my dad asked. I don't know. Daydreaming, I guess. Well, I was thinking. Well, I was asking, what do you know about the Shredderman character? Uh, that he's a good guy. "A good guy who sprays graffiti?" my mom asked. "He didn't spray it," I cried. "Oh?" they both said, looking at me. Whoops. I tried smiling. At least I don't think he did. I think... The phone rang. Phew. Dad said, "Sorry, Eve, but I've got to get it, just in case." I could hear him from over by Mom's desk. "Hello? Hey, Sarge." "Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Seriously?" "Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Is that spelt just like it sounds?" "Got it. Okay, I'll be sure to check it out." "What was that about?" Mom asked after he hung up. Sarge went to that website, Shredderman.com. Says it's a riot. "So Shredderman's not the tagger?" my mom asked. "That's yet to be seen." He took a bite of lasagna, "but we'll get to the bottom of it." After dinner, Dad booted up Mom's computer. He typed in Shredderman.com. Mom hung over his shoulder. I held my breath. All of a sudden, music blared from the speakers. Shredderman streaked across the top of the screen in his purple mask and cape. The Shredderman banner fluttered behind him. Then the bouncer boinged into view. He flexed his tattooed muscles. One bicep popped up with truth, the other popped up with justice. My dad spotted the attention tagger link. He clicked. And a few seconds later, he said, "Look at this, Eve. Shredderman's not the tagger." My mom nodded. "But he's sure egging him on, don't you think? Calling him chicken and all?" My dad said. "But it does look like he meant well. Unless he's got a dark side." She glanced at my dad. "You know, like an alter ego?" My dad laughed. "A schizophrenic superhero?" "Steven, don't laugh. They're all a little that way when you think about it. Spider-Man, Superman, Batman. They're all tortured inside, don't you think?" "Superman?" my dad asked. He was clicking on the jokes link now. "How's Superman tortured?" "He's got super strength, he's got X-ray vision, he can fly. Give me that kind of torture any day." "You're missing the whole point, Steven. He's tortured by his isolation. He's lonesome. They're all lonesome." "That doesn't mean they have a dark side. That just means—" My mom cut him off. "You're telling me Batman doesn't have a dark side? You're telling me—" "Oh, Eve, for crying out loud. They're characters. Somebody made them up. Whoever the Shredderman character is, he's real." He was scrolling through my jokes page when suddenly he sat back and read, "What do you call a bully fire?" My mom leaned forward and read the answer. "A barbecue?" She looked at Dad. Dad looked at her. They both busted up. Dad turned to me and said, "This has got to be about Alvin Bixby, don't you think? How many Bubbas can there be?" I mumbled, "Looks like," and tried to breathe. Mom looked at me. "Have you visited the site before?" I shrugged. "I've heard about it." "Well, with all the trouble Alvin's caused you—" "Ha ha," I laughed, pointing to a joke on the screen like I'd never seen it before. "Why run from a bully? He's got the bubonic plague." I laughed again. "That's funny." Dad laughed too, but Mom said, "But Nolan, the site must belong to someone at your school, don't you think?" I shrugged again. "I heard some kids say they think it's one of the teachers." Dad was clicking on the "what's big and fat and smells all over" link. I closed my eyes. I held my breath. He busted up. "Bubba's big butt? I don't think a teacher would have the nerve to put this on his website, do you?" "No," Mom said. "It's got to be a student. A pretty funny one, too." She turned to me. "Do you know any sixth graders who are really good at computers?" I tried to look innocent. "A lot of kids have their own website." Dad snapped his fingers. "Hey, I'll bet Sarge can find out who this site is registered to." "Good idea," Mom said. Triple O. I escaped to my room and just sat on my bed, trying to catch my breath. How long would it be before Mom and Dad found out who Shredderman.com was registered to? And what would happen to me when they found out it was registered to them?